Buenas noches, soy Alberto Denis por Fruta Extraña. Esta noche regresaremos al Theater for the New City con Izzy Ruiz, pero primero vamos a ver estas noticias muy importantes. Quisiéramos anunciarles el nuevo sitio web de Ta'ayush, Abrigo de Vida en Común, un movimiento local de árabes y judíos trabajando juntos para derrumbar las paredes del racismo y la segregación a través de la construcción de una verdadera asociación árabe-judía. www.taayush.org. La obra que se presenta esta noche en el Theater for the New City fue inspirada por este grupo. Ahora acompañemos a Izzy Ruiz y al escritor-director Misha Shulman en el teatro. Chao.
She reminds me of my sister.
She has spit or two.
Yeah, I saw her spit once. It was the day she left.
Who did she spit at?
My father, at his feet, and he slapped her. That was the only time he ever hit one of us, but it didn't matter. She went and she did just what he forbade her to do. And she never came back. First time I saw my father cry.
Where was she going?
To a pub in the Ramallah.
Which pub?
It was called Privacy for B. It was like no pub in Jerusalem. It was a pub only for women. My father.
Right now, I'm talking to the actor who plays Sahi. Could you introduce yourself for us?
Hi, Aubrey Levy.
Now, Aubrey, I want to jump right into your character who has a very unique experience in that his sister was a lesbian.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think that affected him as a person, as a character?
I think, I think that it adds another interesting and other kind of complex wad of crap that Tahi has to deal with. Not that she's a lesbian, but that the burden of how that situation was dealt with in his family.
Right.
The fact that it played out in such an awful fashion, I think is an interesting and difficult thing that Sahi has to carry around with him. And I think it's interesting. Sahi has had a very close relationship with his sister. He looked up to his sister. She had a good 10, 12 years on him in age, and she was like his role model. She was the person that he played with in the sand. She was his friend. He loved her, and so I think even though he was young when that development occurred, that awareness to him that his sister was a lesbian, and maybe he wasn't fully able to appreciate it, but I think it would never have been something that Sahi would have held against her or judged her for. I don't think he cared when he was a young child. I don't think it mattered to him. It wasn't later until Sahi grew up and saw the social construct that the family put upon and society and
being a soldier too.
Yeah, and all these kind of other vantage points that he had to start thinking about it as an issue. Before it was just, she's my sister, I love her, and it's not until he realizes that this is something that people aren't okay with.
Your words are nails. Your song is a terror. Your dance is a human piece.
No more veils. Here is the bride. Is she fresh? Is she loyal? Time for the truth. Clear as the wind that'll blow. blow me up to that black sky. My body is not my own. It will shatter the donuts to fragments and fragments of grief.
I hear your destiny, unbearable screeching, sobs that rip the ears.
My life is up. His hands. I can feel his caress. My prophet's robe is up. Scolding fingers full of pity. Allah is merciful. Now it is my turn to give. My time to die.
Does death attract you? You're like a hypnotized animal, proudly climbing onto the altar of God. Here is the sacrifice.
I have here the martyr, as she's called in the play. Introduce yourself, please, Alice.
I'm Alice Foreman. I play Lila in Desert Sunrise.
Now, you really are sort of really become the flame underneath everything that happens. And what was it like for you to be that catalyst, so to speak?
As an actress, I was afraid that the audience would reject my character because she comes in at such a peaceful moment in the play and she disrupts all of this gentle kind of emotions that have been created after all of this craziness, and it all calms down and she comes in and she fires it up, like you say. So I was worried for Lila that she wouldn't be liked at all.
I mean, so what was, because when I was watching some of the dancing, I mean, everyone has their own interpretation. What was your message through, whether it was dancing behind the scrim or dancing here? What was that story that she was telling? Could you tell a little bit about that?
About the shadow dancing?
Yeah.
That was, it's moments between Lila and Yom. There's one of the characters in the play is Yom, which is Lila's inner world. And it's almost a storytelling technique, because you have the beginning where Yom and Lila are together and they're very unified. They almost look like they're part of the same body. I had an audience member say that he thought I had a dummy attached to me and that it was moving with me or something like that.
Wow.
That's how connected I think we come across, and we ended up being. And so at the beginning, there's this very close unity, and then there's this moment where she puts the hijab on, and it's like this obvious symbol of Lila reaching teenagehood, like the moment that they put their hijab on is around their teenage years. And then there's the moment where Lila wants to put the hijab on Yom and she refuses. So there's this pretty much immediate, obvious difference between them. One of them has accepted and will more or less succumb to the tradition and the religion, not necessarily out of choice, somewhat out of love, but Yom will not and refuses to do that. And then the difference, I think, becomes more and more obvious as the shadow dances go on. And then once we're separated and I'm in front and she's behind, she's still very connected to me, but there's this whole part of her that's not Lila at all. That's what Lila would love to be but can't be because of everything that's going on around her physically.
Right.
Mumtaz, excellent. Now, all it is little movements sideways and back. Ready? Go. Move your left. Your left and back. And right and back. And Ismail, keep your hand off her butt. Let's go. And left. And back. And back, Ismail. And right. And back. And left. And Ismail, you are not doing this right. Alright. We have no choice. Pretend I'm Naila. Get away from me! Oh, come on, it's the 21st century. What are you, some kind of caveman? Back off! Hey, don't you want to hug her for real tonight? You are the man. You have to know how to lead her. Laila will know how to dance. Shoo, I don't want to do this either, but you have to learn. This is the only way. Here, we will have One more shakta, and then we're doing it. Yalla. Huh? Take my hand. Hello, Ismail. My hand. On my waist. Ismail, on my waist. Ready? Now move. And left. Your left. And back. And back, Ismail. And right. You have to leave me. You're the man. I'm not going to you though. And back. And left. And back. Loosen up. And right. And back. Good. Now, spin me around. Spin me around. Material Ismail. Now, across the floor. Follow with your right. Ready? And left. And right. And left. And right. Look in the eye. And left.
We're here with the director and writer. If you could introduce yourself to everybody, please.
Hi, I'm Misha Shulman.
Now, tell us what inspired you to even create this piece itself.
My initial connection to this subject matter is actually through my father, who is a peace activist in Israel-Palestine, and he works with Ta'ayush, which is this Israeli-Palestinian peace movement there. And so he would tell me and show me what the stuff he wrote about his experiences going out into the West Bank and doing all these kinds of actions in support of these Palestinian cave dwellers who live there and who are really unbelievably oppressed by the Israelis in a way that is really shocking to, I mean, I'm Israeli, so it's even more shocking to me because, you know, you grow up with this belief in that your culture and your people are good and that they would never do this kind of stuff. And here is like such a concrete example of the unbearably, you know, the unbearable to the mind stuff that my people are doing.
Well, considering that, do you feel like what you've written is objective, or do you feel like you sort of had a different slant of your perspective based on what you saw and what you've learned so far?
I feel like my work is very objective. You know, you're asking the wrong person. But I feel like the way all of this stuff is presented in America and in Israel and pretty much anywhere in the world in the media is completely slanted. And here in this play, I'm trying to present it in a way that really seems, after growing up in Israel, knowing very well the Israeli story, the Israeli version of what's going on, and then growing up and realizing, hey, all this shit I was taught, all this stuff I was taught was, a story. And it was a version of the story that has got all these holes. And so I went and researched and, found out the rest of the story and filled up the picture. And so now I can see who is really oppressed and who is really creating the mess. And so the answer is everyone is. Mm-hmm. Both of them are. But the way it's presented in the play is that the Israelis get more. The Israelis the Israeli government has it worse in the play than the Palestinians.
Right.
And that's because the Palestinians in general have it worse than the Israelis.
I mean, it's funny at the end of not funny, but at the end where you have your character say, understand the truth or hear the truth. Was it hard for you to tell this truth, being from where you're from?
A few years ago, I would have answered you yes. It's very difficult for me to say this is the truth, accept it. Mm-hmm. But I've changed in these past few years to be able to just say, no, it's not difficult for me. It's the only thing I can do, honestly.
Right. One thing that definitely I felt watching was the issue of gender. gender plays a big role, and being a man writing about women, and if I feel like there was a dichotomy in what was expected from women from either Israeli or Palestinian side versus, you know, your female character being the smarter. How was it writing the woman's perspective, and where did you get that from?
Well, I mean, every culture in the Middle East has, I mean, every culture in the world really, but in the Middle East it's a little bit more extreme than here, for example. You know, women have it harder, and it's true about both the Israeli and the Palestinian society, but it's more true in the Palestinian society because they're more closely tied to the tradition, to the age-old tradition, and so you know, these issues are there are all these layers of oppression, and so when you search into these different layers, you find that one of the big ones is the gender issue, and it creates a lot more, you know, much more, you know, strong feelings of oppression, and sometimes those are the ones that really, you know, trigger it.
Were there any specific female voices in your head as you wrote it?
Well, I based a lot of the character of Layla on a sort of a bunch of characters put together from this book called Army of Roses, which is about Palestinian women suicide bombers. And I mean, I did a lot of research about Palestinian women suicide bombers. And in this book in particular, there are a few stories. And each one of them has these different layers, but they're all similar in the sense that the surface level that really made them finally just go and blow themselves up or want to blow themselves up is the Israelis. Is some specific incident like this, like in the play, it's the incident at the checkpoint with being kissed by the soldier. But every one of them has some direct kind of something that happened to them or to someone in their family that's the trigger. But then you look underneath it, and there's so much, you know, there's so much sadness, and there's so much oppression. There's stuff from their parents and stuff from their society in general, and so it just goes deeper and deeper.
Well, one thing I enjoyed was when the soldier is inviting Ismail to dance with him, and he goes, "It's the 21st century," almost as if, you know, let's take a chance and have two men dance, and yet there's so many, you know, archaic ways of thinking that are in contrast and battling each other here. But that line was so strong, and I laughed to myself because, you know, you want these two characters to do that, but they can't. So my question is, what, you know, in the 21st century, what do you think could happen? Do you think, you know, there's an open-mindedness that could develop, or it's just a far-fetched idea that will take another century to get there?
Well, the truth is, it's sort of a bullshit line on the Israeli part, because the Israelis, you know, we think of ourselves as this sort of more advanced society than the Palestinians. We're more open to homosexuality, supposedly, and all this stuff, which is not true. And the amazing thing is, I went this summer, Alice and I both went to Palestine, and we had a bunch of experiences with men, and in particular with this one group of dancers, an all-male dance troupe from around East Jerusalem. And the way they dance is like you see in gay clubs in New York. It's like they're like all over each other. The way they're physical with each other is like, I mean, they're all over each other. They're constantly, you see this all over the third world really, but it was just striking in Palestine, this society that's supposed to be so anti-homosexuality, that they're like, you know, they're holding hands and they're hugging each other and kissing each other, and it's just like, it's right there. And so. Do
you feel like sexuality would have been more fluid centuries ago, or then do you feel like homophobia is something that's gotten stronger over the years? And
well, my feeling, you're talking in general.
In general, it's a broad question, I know.
I feel like a lot of people are opening up to it.
Right.
In the Middle East, definitely. I know that in Israeli culture, the circles, at least the circles I hang out with, there is like the complete, closed attitude is cracked, and so now a lot of people can much more easily accept the existence of, definitely the existence in general of homosexuality. Everyone's very politically correct about that, but even within the family there are more and more Israelis. I don't know about Palestinians, but there are definitely more and more Israelis that are opening up to it and accepting it, and there's a thriving gay community in Tel Aviv especially, but all over Israel.
Okay. So for those who in the audience who may not relate directly to the context in which these lives are unfolding, for those who don't have that background or understand the politics as well, what are some of the general, whether it's the truths or the experiences or the lessons you want them to take with them when they leave the show?
Well, it's sort of hard to put them into a few words once you've put them into so many. I want them to see the simple truth of people being people, and of people not seeing other people as people, and the way governments manipulate this, and the way they use words like terror to do whatever their agenda is, and to be insanely cruel to other people on the pretext, under the pretext of their values. And I wrote in the program about this area in the South Hebron Hills. It's like words there feel real. Like I wrote in the program, their terror is terror, and a rock is a rock. A wall is a wall. And so people talk about these grand ideas, and they talk about they talk about the security fence, or they call it the wall, but nobody really experiences it. And in this place, everything is experienced so directly that in a way that I really opened me up, and can really open people up if they really understood the meaning of these words that people are saying and people are abusing. They would have a better way of sort of understanding what's really going on there, and understanding their own lives as well.
So just one last question is generally for the audience that's watching on TV. When is the show going to be running for? How long?
We still have another 2 weeks. We're running Thursday through Sunday at 8 o'clock and Sunday at 3. Until October 23rd. Next Thursday, which is the 16th, I believe. No, sorry, the 13th. October 13th, Thursday is at 9 o'clock. Come see the show. It's worth it.
Do you plan to move it to anywhere else, any other theaters or cities?
I'm in negotiations with a few places, festivals, and we're trying to organize a campus tour around the States.
Well, good luck. It was a great show.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, soy Alberto Denis por Fruta Extraña. De Perú, arzobispo enojado por video sobre matrimonio gay. El problema de fondo en el caso de presunto matrimonio religioso entre homosexuales es la manipulación del video que se grabó el pasado 25 de agosto en una misa realizada en una iglesia de Trujillo. Porque los fieles quieren un recuerdo, se les permite filmar videos de las ceremonias religiosas. De esta forma, se consiguieron las tomas de video que fueron manipulados para que aparecieran que una boda gay se realizó en la iglesia. El arzobispo de Trujillo, Miguel Cabrejos, declaró: "Es preocupante que le toca a la iglesia denunciar este problema serio". El arzobispo sostuvo que los obispos reunidos en el Consejo Permanente ratificaron su rechazo al video fabricado que ofende a la Iglesia Católica. pues toca y mancilla dos sacramentos, el de matrimonio y el de la comunión. Aclaró además que para la Iglesia el matrimonio es entre un hombre y una mujer. Además, para su realización se requiere de una preparación previa con testigos y padrinos, y evidentemente nada de eso se realizó. La primera preocupación es demostrar que el matrimonio gay no se ha realizado en nuestra iglesia, concluyó el arzobispo. Gracias.